Hello and welcome to my screencast on using MATLAB for sampling of distributions. So what I want to show you today is how to use MATLAB to sample, for example, from the uniform distribution, from a normal distribution, and probably in a subsequent video, a more complicated method of how to sample from an exponential distribution. The first two are simpler because there's a really nice way of generating these uniform and normally distributed random numbers. So let's just get started. I'll go through that. So we want to generate a uniform number, a random number, actually a whole bunch of them. And so let's just start with that rand command. So the rand command, so what I got happening here is this is the script that I'm going to gradually be building, and here is the command line where I can either execute individual commands one by one, or by typing in the name of the script, I can run it, which I can also do just by hitting editor and run, or F5. So let's see what the rand command does on its own. It just generates a number between 0 and 1 that's uniformly distributed. So we can also add arguments here. So if I give it, let's say 5 by 1, that gives me a vector of random numbers between 0 and 1, and I can do just with a single argument that gives me a matrix, so rand of 5 would be a 5 by 5 matrix, and so on. Here what I'd like to do is I'd like to generate a large number, so I'll just give it a name. I haven't decided yet how many I want, but I want to be able to change that easily in case it's not enough, and I'd like to get a better picture of the distribution. And so I'll define n for now to be 1,000, and we'll see if that's sufficient for our purposes. Okay, so once we have this, I'm going to use the command hist. Now, MATLAB always recommends that I use histogram, and that's got some benefits over hist, but it's a little bit more complicated to work with. So I'm going to do a histogram using hist of uniform, and what that does is it takes all the numbers that are in the vector uniform, and it identifies the highest and the lowest, and it splits everything up in the middle into bins. It'll do 10 bins by default, and it counts how many of the random numbers in that whole vector are in each bin. And it'll display that for me. So here I'm going to hit F5, which is just my quicker way than clicking on editor and run. And what should have happened here is the figure should now show, a histogram. And if you look at the histogram that we've got here, you can see it runs from 0 to 1, which is consistent with our distribution, but it's got a height of about 100. And that's because what histogram does is it doesn't plot a density, a probability density. It actually plots the frequency count. So how often do the samples land in each bin? And so what we need to do if we're going to draw the density is we're going to rescale that. So you can see what's happened here. I have 1,000 numbers that I've spread out across 0 to 1, and there's 10 bins in this case, so they roughly get about 100 each. Now there's some noise because it's random. So what I need to do with this is instead of just getting the histogram plotted, I'm going to actually catch the output of the histogram function, and I'm going to, the format for the output when you put in arguments here, 2 arguments particularly, is it gives you the bar heights and the bar positions along the x-axis. So let's see, it's unhappy about positions. Why is it unhappy? Oh, it wants me to separate by a comma. Okay. There we go. Still not happy? Yeah, happy. Okay, great. Always nice to make MATLAB happy. All right, so I'm going to suppress the output, and then those are going to be stored in bar heights and positions. And the next thing that I want to do, now I can just draw a bar graph of positions, comma, bar heights, and that will give me roughly a picture like what I want. Let's run that and see. Now instead of every time clicking on the figure to raise it to the front, I'm going to put a figure command in front. I'll do that in a second. First, let's interpret what's going on here. This is pretty much what we had before. So I've basically recreated the ability to make a histogram, except now there's little spaces in between all of the bars. Slightly different formatting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a figure 1 command up here. And what that does is it'll bring the figure to the front so I don't have to click on it. Okay, so the problem here is that the bar heights are not what we want. We want to normalize that so that the integral under the plotted function is 1. And so the bar heights don't have an integral of 1, they'll have an integral of, well, it'll have an integral of 1,000, or sorry, it'll have a sum over the bars of 1,000, but if we multiply then by the width of these bars, which we have to figure out still, so how do we figure out the width of those bars? Well, what is positions? Positions are all the positions of the middles of those bins. So if I take positions of 2 minus positions of 1, I'll get, okay, so it's about 0.1 spacing, just under 0.1 spacing between them. And if I do a diff, it actually does this for all neighboring pairs in the positions vector, and I see all the spaces are exactly that same value. So I'm just going to use this difference here. I'll copy it over into my code. And so that I'm going to call that my dx. So dx is equal to spacing between the bins, and I'll suppress the output. And so now what I can do is I can divide this by the number of samples and dividing by the width of the interval, and that will now normalize it so that it'll have an integral of 1. And the height of my density now should be 1. So this should display a density. And there we go. You can see it's going from 0 to 1. It has a height of 1. Great. Okay, so that's what we wanted out of our density. Now I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more smoothness to that plot. So let's say for the histogram function here, instead of saying 10, we can specify that we want 50. Now when I do this, hopefully, it'll still give us a height of 1. But now because we've split it up into more bins, it's a lot noisier because there's fewer samples in each bin, so it's more likely that it'll jump up and down. And so let's just crank up our sample number. And you can see it's getting, when I increase the sample number, it gets closer to a uniform distribution. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit more compact because I'm not going to pay attention to it that much more. This is the piece that I feel we've done successfully. So I'm going to comment that out using the editor and comment button. And then, oh yeah, first I want to copy it. And now let's do random normally distributed sampling. So instead of uniform, now I want to define a whole bunch of normal sampled. So the big difference here is not very much. I just add an n, and now it'll be sampling from a normal distribution instead of a uniform. That's pretty simple. And then I have to change this to the normal vector that I just defined. And the rest of it should just work out. So let's hit F5 and see, there we go. Look at that. Okay, so it's harder to tell that that's the density that I'm interested in getting. So what I need, or what I'd like to do here is define a function that is the normal distribution, or that gives the density of the normal distribution. So that means that I'm going to define an x variable. Now we want to go from the bottom end here to the top here, and so that's actually going from positions of 1, which is the lowest value, up to positions of, and now I don't know immediately how many positions I have. It might be, let's see, it should be 50. But it's simpler to just say end in the brackets, and that automatically gives you the last entry in the vector. And you can also do the second to last by doing n minus 1 and so on, but I want the last one. And now this is going to give me exactly the discretization of the x-axis that the bars give me, and that looks it looks okay. It could be a little bit, if I want to make it a little bit more refined, instead of, what did we say the difference was? It was about 0.1. Let's say I can make it half that. So I can put in, instead of just going in steps of 1, I put in an intervening number here, which is 0.05. So that will be even finer than the bars. Okay, so that gives us a vector of x values. And I can, let's drop that into the command line so you can see what that looks like. And now you can see, I'm actually going to do, just to make it easier to see, I'm going to do prime at the end of that. I put it in square braces so I can take a transpose. And there you can see that is the whole vector of values along the x-axis, going all the way from minus 3.1 6 to 3.8. Okay, so now we know what we want to put in the y values. And so what is the density? What's the function for the density of a normal distribution? It's the bell curve, which is a Gaussian function. So it's 1 divided by, now I'm going to change the spread of this by introducing a sigma. And so 1 over sigma is the standard deviation, square root of 2 times pi, or p times pi. Let's put a 2 there, better. Good. And then all of that has to be multiplied by, now in MATLAB, the exponential function is not e to the, but it's exp of. It doesn't know anything about e. E is just a letter for variables in MATLAB. So we do exp of, and then inside the brackets, we put minus 1 over 2, and then multiply that by, now MATLAB is smart, it does operations, order of operations the way you would want it to. But I'm going to put brackets just for a little bit more clarity in reading it. And I'm putting spaces so it's easy to see where the brackets start and where the brackets end. So I'm matching my brackets before I type. And so here what I need for the Gaussian function, the normal distribution's density, is I need x minus the mean, and that's got to be squared. Oh, actually, let's put that all in brackets. So divide that by sigma, and then these are, so you can see it bracket matches for you. You see the little line that appears underneath the parentheses that match. So I'm going to square what's in those brackets, which is the argument multiplied by 1/2. And then I think this is addition. Do I need that? Yeah, actually I'll leave that in. And then this one goes on the outside, and that's the end of that. Okay, I think that's everything there. I'm going to spread this out a little bit more so I can see. Okay, so now the one thing to be very careful about, well, not very careful, MATLAB will warn you if you're doing it, is that x is a vector. So x minus mu, MATLAB is smart enough to know that if I define mu as a constant, let's say 2, then it knows to take 2 away from every value in x. And if I divide by sigma, it knows that I mean that I want to divide every entry in this vector here by sigma. But when I tell it to square this vector, it thinks squaring is a matrix operation, so it tries to take the matrix interpretation of that vector and multiply it by itself as a matrix. And that doesn't have the right dimensions. You can't multiply an n by 1 by an n by 1, and so it'll complain. The way to get around this is to use a different notion of power, which is dot power, point power, and that is a pointwise squaring. So in other words, each entry is squared, and that becomes the entry of the resulting vector. So when you do a point squared or a point multiply, your output is going to be of the same size as your input. Okay, and then the exponential, this is just a scalar, so I don't need a dot there, although it doesn't hurt, I can put it in, it wouldn't cause problems because it's a scalar multiplied by a vector. The exponential function knows to give me a vector output consisting of the exponential of every entry, and this whole thing in front here is just a scalar. So that's really, there's only that one spot where we need to put the dot, the point operator. Okay, so I think we've got a Gaussian function there, and we can plot that. But the problem with plotting just like this without anything else is, and I'm going to plot x versus y, and then make that red. So if you want to know the options for plots, you can do a help plot at the command line and scroll up, and you can see there's a whole bunch of options you have. So I've just done red, but you can also do something like this, red and colon, and that means, where's colon? It's over here. So that gives me a dotted graph, but I'll leave it as, so solid is by default, and that's just a single half, so a single dash. So a dash is the same as not putting anything, so I'll just leave that out. And now the problem with this is I have a plot here and then a plot here. The second one will always just overwrite the first one. So what we need to do is I'm going to go back up to the top here, and I'm going to put in a hold on. So that toggles between on and off. If I put a hold off, it turns it off. And what this does is MATLAB will continue to just put graph over graph over graph. Now, if I do that, I better put a clear before so that it gets rid of everything I had on previously and puts just 2 new things on. So let me run this, and we will see what we get. I don't see our graph. Oh, whoops, sigma. Oh, we never defined sigma and mu. All right, so let's do that. So we need a sigma and the randn. I didn't mention this before. The randn automatically gives me a sample from a normal distribution with standard deviation 1 and mean 0. So now we should be good. There we go, and that fits quite well. And we can do statistics on that if you want to check it. I'm not going to go through that here. But what I will do is I will modify the normal distribution with these sigma and mu values. So how do we take a randn, which is normally distributed, and you can see it doesn't stray very far. It's got a spread of about 3 at most, so about 90, or is it about 99 or 98% of the numbers from the sample will be within 3 standard deviations of the mean. And so that's what we see there, but I want to be able to spread them out. Well, the value is that I'm getting here, the normal value, is the x value. So if I want to spread it out in the x direction, the way to do that is to multiply this by sigma. And that'll appropriately, if I change the standard deviation, that'll spread this out. And then once I've spread it out, I can also shift it by subtracting off the mean. And that'll shift it to the mean value, which in this case is 0, but I could put in, let's say, a 2 there, and we can see the whole thing just shifted over, but it did not. Oh, right, okay, no, the shift, we have to add it to get it to move. So take the x value and add the mu to it, and it'll move in the right direction towards that mean. So that's what we should have done. I should have done that there. Okay, there we go. So now you see it's at the mean of 2, and the standard deviation is still about the same, or it's still the same, it's 1. But now we can make this, let's say, 14, and run that, and you can see now that it's much more spread out, and it's got that standard deviation of what we wanted, 14. Okay, so what you've seen here is demonstration of how to sample a uniform and a normal distribution and plot it against the appropriate densities, theoretical densities, and confirm that we have actually sampled those things correctly. And if you want to watch the more complicated version, I'll post right after this an exponential distribution version of this same algorithm. Okay, thanks.